Decca, wake up. Please wake up. We're here. We're here. Britta's voice comes as if it's from far away when I awake. The heat around me is so overwhelming it feels like a boulder pressing down on my chest. The remnant of a dream teases at my thoughts, heavy and insistent. I try to grab onto it, but it disappears when a large, warm weight insistently shakes my shoulder. I'm getting up, I say, blinking my eyes open. To my surprise, the light around me has changed. It's not the cool blue of winter, but the warm yellow of a deep summer. Even stranger, the smells of the sea now are mixed with the new exotic fragrance. Flowers. But I've never smelled flowers like these. These are subtle and elegantly scented, their fragrance shimmering around me on delicate waves. Where's the smell of ice and snow? Where's the cold? I turn to Britta, whose eyes are wide with relief. Why is it so warm? I rasp, confused. My tongue is as dry as our haystacks in midsummer, and sweat slicks my hair and clothes so they stick to my skin. Britta hugs me tightly. I thought you would never wake. It's been 4 weeks. White Hands told me you would, but 4 weeks, 4 weeks, I frowned, pulling away from her. When my muscles protest this simple movement, I wince. Why do they feel so tight? What do you mean 4 weeks? You've been asleep for almost a month. This explanation comes from White Hands, who's watching me calmly against the wall. Sunlight filters bright and warm through the door at the top of the stairs behind her. It shimmers over Brahma and Massima, whose heavy fur coats and boots are long gone. They're bare-chested in the heat, talons flexing against the wooden floor. Flies buzz around them and they whip away with their tails. A month? I echo, flabbergasted. Naughty or lucky to make our friends worry, Masama tisks, shaking his head. But the quiet one needed a rest, Masami, Brahma says, tossing his black striped hair. You would too if you knew you've been traveling for weeks in this nasty ship's hold after being trapped by priests in a nasty temple cellar. But I'd at least tell you I was sleeping a long time, Brahma, Masama sniffs. White Hand gets annoyed by their back and forth. She points to the stairs where the other passengers are now filing out the door. Upstairs with you both, she commands. Prepare the wagon. Yes, my lady, they chime, their talons clacking up the wooden steps. I'm so sorry. I don't know how I slept so long, I say, still in shock. I turn to White Hands. Is there something that happened to Ilaki? Is it normal? No, she replies. But you needed your rest. Experiences such as the one you've had can take their toll. Even humans, when faced with the circumstance, sleep away their pain. Better now than when you reach the Warthu Bearer. I frown. The Warthu Bearer? I've never heard those words before. It's the training ground where me and ye are assigned, Britta says excitedly, tapping the old Himmerian symbol on the back of her seal. That's what the symbol means. It's the most elite one. My forehead crunches in confusion. Why would we be sent to the most elite ground when we haven't even done any training yet? I can't comprehend it. I can't comprehend anything right now. That dream resurfaces, a vague memory edging at my thoughts. It flitters away when White Hands passes us each small sticks of something that look like charcoal. I recognize them immediately. Tozali. My mother used to line her eyes with it every day to protect them from the sun. Rub this on your eyes. You'll need it. We depart within the hour. Yes, White Hands, we say as she leaves. Once she's gone, Britta and I apply the Tozali using a small jug of water as a mirror. My hands tremble as I rub the stick against my eyes. My muscles have become so weak now, every tiny movement has them howling in protest. It's even worse when I begin packing up the remains of my things. When last did I eat? And how could I have slept so long? My limbs feel rubbery, new, the way they felt every time I woke up after a gilded sleep. Even worse, there's a strange feeling somewhere deep inside of me, as if something is changing, growing. I can't help but feel that I've become different somehow, in a way I don't understand. Britta watches me the entire time, a perplexed look in her eyes. What is it? I ask. my mind still racing. Why is it that ye survive even when ye do not eat? She whispers. When I glance at her startled, she explains, you didn't have a bite of food or even a drop of water. I had to eat all of your meals so that the others wouldn't notice. I told them you were sick, and that's why you weren't moving or talking, but they would have wondered about you if you never ate, so I ate for you. I mean, I knew you were strange, but this, her voice lower so a whisper, this is unnatural, Deca. Unnatural. There it is. That word again. I know Britta didn't mean to hurt me, but the word still stings. Even worse, it's true. I don't feel any hunger anymore. It's disappeared, vanished to a place where I cannot find it. I shrug sadly, trying to push back all of the horrible feelings rising inside of me, the fears at this new, worrying sign of impurity. I don't know. It's never happened before. It must be like White Hands say, I must be sleeping away everything that happened in that cell. Are you hungry now? She asks quickly. I know she's interrupting so I don't have to finish the devastating words. I nod gratefully. I suppose I could eat. She quickly hooks my elbow with hers, offering me a bright smile. Then let's feed you before your stomach starts dancing the northern jig, she says, pulling me upstairs. We emerge to sunlight so blinding, I have to shade my eyes against the glare. Crowds upon crowds of people mill across the docks, their voices a formidable wave of sound emerging from every ship, street, and stall. There are too many people, too many sounds. I have to fight the urge to block my ears. Oyomo preserve us, Britta proclaims. Have you ever seen so many people in your life? As I shake my head, speechless, she waves goodbye to the sailors and the other passengers. To my surprise, they wave cheerfully back. Travels, blessings, Britta, a grizzled old sailor calls. Britta beams and returns. And the same on your next journey, Kelma. When she sees me looking, she shrugs. We became friends, she explained. Then she leans closer, whispering, they told me all sorts of things over the journey. Death shrieks have been attacking Himarra every night. A few of them slip in, and no one knows how. My eyes widen. Death shrieks in the capital? How's that even possible? It's said that the walls of Himarra are impenetrable, that the city itself have been made into a walled garden, impervious to siege. Those creatures could have already been here. So close my mind shudders at the thought. And what do you say about us, the Alaki, I ask. She shrugs. People don't know about us yet. Only the priests and the elders know, but then they are always known. I nod bitterly until emotion catches my attention. White Hands beckoning to us from the docks, with Brima and Masaima already saddling themselves to her wagon. Hurry, hurry, quiet one, Brima calls. The day is passing fast and faster. I hasten my pace, aware that the people are giving Britta and me curious stares. We're two unmasked girls of ritual age, no male guardian present to oversee us. It won't be long before we're stopped. Just as I think this, a plump, pious-looking man, embossed infinite wisdom scroll under his arm, separates from the crowd and begins walking toward us, a severe look on his face. But before he can catch us, however, White Hand smoothly cuts in front of him, waving us onward. Come along, night girls, she says loudly. Himarra awaits, as does your service to our great empire. The Emperor's seal swings officiously from her belt. The man's eyes flicker to it, then to us. He hisses under his breath about ungodly women as he walks away disgusted. I hate pompous, puffed up meddlers, don't you? White Hand humps. Not waiting for us to answer, she points upward. Look, the gates of Himarra. As my eyes follow her hand, my jaw drops when I see the colossal walls rising above the docks. Twin warrior statues guarding each of its gates. So these are the walls of Himarra Father always told me about. Father. I stifle the thought by concentrating on the walls. There are only three. 3 walls within 3 gates. Why? I turn to White Hands to ask, but she's gesturing toward the nearest and largest entrance. We're headed for Gate Imika, she says, nodding at the twin statues of the same stern warrior with the crown upon his head. Emperor Imika, the first emperor of Otera, I recognize him immediately. Tall and dark, hair closely cropped except for his beard. His image is engraved in every temple in every hall. Those stern eyes, flaring nostrils, mouth tight and severe, it's unmistakable. And so are these statues now soaring over us, their swords casting massive shadows on the crowd below. I look up at them, fear and unease rushing through me. Well, here we are, I whisper, bracing myself with a deep breath. Here we are, Britta agrees, doing the same. Her face is even paler than usual, no trace of a smile on her lips. Her hand nudges mine and I squeeze it, and I nod tightly. She doesn't have to say what she's thinking. I already know. She and I will survive this together. White Hand leads us directly to Gate Imika, where a river of people and animals is already streaming into the city. Westerners, Easterners, Southerners, Northerners, they all vie for space with horses, camels, and other more exotic animals. I recognize only from Father's scrolls, Aurelians, hulking, silver-furred apes with strangely human-like faces, pulling nearby chariots, their sharp horns blunted by curved golden sheaths. Mammoths plod at the front of the caravans, multiple tusks protruding underneath their long, flexible trunks, ivory spikes along their gigantic, leathery gray backs, and yet more spikes at the rounded end of their tails. Caravan masters sit inside their little tents atop them, blowing horns to herald their approach. I wish Mother were here. She was always telling me about the southern provinces. Even though she never regretted leaving to marry Father, she always missed the lands of her birth. All she ever wanted was for me to see them someday, to see the other side of my bloodline. She would have never imagined me coming here as a newly recruited soldier. Britta points out the Emperor's guards manning the gates. Would you look at those Jatu Dika, she says, gaping. Unlike the ones we saw up north, these Jatu were wearing not armor and war masks, but splendid red robes as they direct the lines of travelers and carefully inspect their documents. They all have the Jatu insignia, the golden lion against the rising sun pinned to their shoulders. They look very officious, I reply, with a twinge of unease running through me. I'm distracted from them by a flash of blue. A carriage rattles past us, led by two large lizard-like creatures with wings. They make squawking noises deep within their throat. Zerazards, I gasp, excited. Another type of creature Mother told me about. They're found only in the south, where the sun is warm and the forest is endless. I squint, trying to take in their feathery blue tails and bright red plumage crowning their heads. My mother loved riding them when she was young, I'd say. They're beautiful, Britta replies in awe. Brima sniffs, tossing his black striped hair. They're not as impressive as us, are they, Masaima? Certainly not, Masaima agrees. You're both very beautiful too, I soothe. The twins stomp their annoyance as they lead the wagon away from the main gate toward a small side entrance, where a line of ominous-looking wagons gathers. The drivers are wearing black robes similar to White Hand's, their faces hidden by heavy cloth hoods. At the sight of all those iron-barred doors and windows, my blood races faster and faster. These must be the wagons carrying the other Alaki. Each one looks big enough to carry at least 6. Britta shifts uncomfortably in the seat. It's the others, isn't it? Most likely, I reply. I can almost feel the despair rising from the wagons. Britta reaches out her hand and I take it. We remain silent while White Hand leads the wagon to the front of the line, where 2 Jatu are playing Ore, a southern board game Mother loved. The moment they glimpse her, they jerk at attention. "Milady," they salute, rushing to open the narrow gate. To my surprise, they're both speaking Osteran instead of Himarran. But then, Himarran is the language of the nobles and the aristocracy, the language used in the Infinite Wisdoms. The only reason I knew how to even understand it is because Father's father forced everyone in the family to memorize the Infinite Wisdom as penance for our long, long ago impurity. I don't know why I expected common Jatu to use it. The gate opens with a small squeak, and I return my attention to the road before me. My eyes widen nearly past their sockets. There, just beyond the gate, is a massive lake which shimmers into the horizon. The city rises from its center, a series of lush green hills connected by a high, arching wood bridges. Rivers and waterfalls cut through the streets with cheerfully painted boats gliding across them, and their embroidered umbrellas protecting passengers from the sun. O Yomo preserve us, bridge of breaches. Staring at all the sights, have you ever seen anything like this in your life? As I shake my head, unable to voice an answer, something else seizes my attention. The majestic building thrusting up from the peak of the Himarra's highest hill like a jagged crown. I've seen it numerous times before, printed on every Alteran coin. It's Oyomo's eye, the ancient palace of the Himarran emperors. The Kuru, Oyomo's sacred sun symbol, decorates its multiple spires and groups of smaller buildings. The halls of administration cluster among the hills below it. I recognize them immediately from every description of the capital I've ever heard. It's all so splendid, so much, I can barely comprehend it. So this is Himarra, the city of the emperors. Be careful to close your mouths before the flies invade them, says White Hands, laughing at my astonishment as the Ekus canter happily into bustling thoroughfares. It's good to be home, brother, Maisama says, grinning. No more itchy furs from the cold, brother, Brahma agrees. The deeper we go into the city, the more crowded it becomes. Zarazard and Iku pulled carriages battle for space on tightly packed streets. Along the sidewalk strolled pedestrians, most of them male, all of them luxuriously robed and groomed, with precious jewels threading red clay-starched beards, tozali swirling in the elaborate patterns around masculine eyes. The few women about are even more elaborately masked here than they are in the north, gold and silver gleaming on every face instead of wood and parchment. There are several variations: round sun masks to glorify Oyomo, silver fertility masks, cheeks exaggerated like the pregnant moon, oval good luck masks, beaded symbols to invite blessings on the forehead and chin, black formal mask, horns curving from the smooth obsidian foreheads. Even some of the little girls wear a little half mask, visible representations of their family's wealth molded in gold and silver. A pang of sadness passes over me whenever I see them. I'll never wear a mask now, never be able to adorn myself in the sacred coverings of purity. The thought flitters away as we delve deeper into the city. Something else has attracted my attention, a dull, almost indistinguishable humming that becomes louder the closer we get to the central bridges. By the time we reach the massive bridge that leads toward the central hill upon which the palace and other administrative buildings stand, it's a roar reverberating in my bones. Do you hear that? I ask Britta. She nods, brows furrowed in confusion. What do you suppose it is? Emeka's tears, White Hand replies, turning to us. I frown at her. Emeka's tears. White Hand points, and I follow her finger towards a gap in the city walls, where a single statue rises. This one female. Keep watching, she instructs, leading the Ekus towards the topmost portion of the bridge. The moment we reach its peak, the breath rushes out of me. There, at the very edge of the city, a massive waterfall cascades into the endless sea below. Now, I understand why Himarra has only 3 walls. The city is on a cliff. The waterfall at its edge is an unscalable barrier against any force that would seek to attack from the sea. The statue I saw thrusts from the edge of the waterfall, a woman with tightly curled hair and a slender but sinewy build. She gazes out into the water, her arm outstretched towards the horizon in warning. Fatu the Relentless, the mother of the first emperor and keeper of the waters of Himarra, White Hands explains, her words piercing my arm. There's a tone in her voice, an emotion I don't understand. Sadness? Regret? A fitting sight to end your journey. Now it's on to Jor Hall. She gestures towards the administrative building, rising just below the palace. Prepare yourselves. I silently nod, anxiety knotting in my chest with the Ekus continuing onward. Talons clacking over the main bridge, Oyomo's eye looms above us in silent condemnation. Our journey will soon be over. Our new lives are about to begin. By the time we reach the street bordering the administrative buildings, dread is coiled like a hooded snake in my stomach. I barely notice how orderly the streets are here. Barely notice the lush gardens clinging to a grand, towering building almost as old as Altera herself. All I can think about is my impending change in circumstances. What will Himarra hold for me? Will it be as White Hands promised? Will any of her promises hold true? There's still this lingering doubt, that prickle of unease I get whenever I'm at her presence. Please let them be true. I pray silently that we make our way down the street. We're approaching an enormous red building, the Jatu insignia prominently displayed on its banners. Jor Hall, the Hall of Administration for Jatu. For father spoke of it so often from his time in the military, I recognize it by the sight. Lines of girls are wrapped around the side, an acrid, unpleasantly familiar smell wafting from within, the stench of unwashed bodies. I know then, even without asking, that those girls are Alaki. The same shivery feeling I felt with Britta trickles through me. Nausea churns my gut the nearer we pull to them. The other Alaki are painfully thin, their clothes torn and dirty, their feet bare and scabbed over. Not a single mask covered their faces, no cloaks or cowls to protect their modesty from the burly black-robed guards who leer as they check the symbols on their backs from their seals before dissecting them through the lines. A few are wounded, blood dripping through their robes, scars crisscrossing exposed arms and shoulders. They haven't died, at least not recently. Their wounds and scars would have been already completely repaired by the Gilded sleep if they had. But then, physical death isn't the only thing an Alaki can suffer. I can tell from the haunted expressions in their other girls' eyes, from the way they don't resist when they're roughly unloaded, 7, 8 at a time, from the backs of the wagons that they've all suffered greatly. Even when the guards prod them toward Jor Hall, its banners flapping suddenly in the breeze, most of them don't even make a sound. What methods did the other transporters use to keep the girls in line? A chill shivers through me with thinking about it. Thank Ayomo for White Hands. Despite all my doubts about her, the most she ever did during our journey was lock the wagon's doors at night so we wouldn't run away. She never hit or abused us, never belittled us with foul words, though I suspect all the things and more happened to the other girls. I wait, anxiously growing, as she stops the wagon before the hall, then walks over to open the back for us. This is where we part ways, Alaki, she says, beckoning for us to dismount. I do so tentatively, arms folded tightly over myself. The guards are watching us now, scowls burning into my shoulders. I suddenly wish I had my old cloak, the one I left in Erfurt. It was tattered and shabby, but at least it hid me from view. Always made me feel safe. Here, I have no such shielding, not even the half-mast I imagine I'd be wearing by now. As I shuffle to the front of the wagon, stomach lurching, palms sweating, the Eku twins turn toward me with mournful expressions. We must say goodbye now, Alaki, Brahma says with a pout. We liked all the winter apples you gave us, Quiet One, Masama adds, glancing at me. They were very delicious. Next time we see each other, I'll give you more than apples, I say softly, petting him and his brother. They nod, and I turn to White Hands. The side of her mouth is quirked as usual, but her eyes shuddered behind her half-mask. She seems almost regretful as she glances at me, although I don't understand why. White Hands, I must leave you now, she says, stopping me with a gesture. She glances from me to Britta. Do not be stupid. You won't die too many times. We both nod quietly. She reaches over and squeezes our hands. It's the most affection she's ever shown us in the month we've traveled together. The very gesture heightens the fear rising inside me. I try to stifle it as White Hands continues her farewell. Remember, this will be tough, but you will overcome it. May fortune find you, she whispers. I wish the same for you, I reply. But she's already walking to her wagon. She rides on. Brahma and Masama waving goodbye. As she disappears, the fear coils tighter inside of me, accelerating my heartbeat. Please, please, please let me be able to endure what's next. And that's chapter 6. I know that's a long one, and I know I've been gone for like a year. But I'm back. I want to finish this book. I want to read it for you guys, because I want to read the next one in the series that's about to drop, the third part. So let me know what you think. I hope you enjoyed the return, and you guys have a great one.